Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsey Moppert here, joined with our Sabres and NHL insider, Paul Hamilton. Paul, we have had a bit of a crazy week, would you say, or 2 weeks, I guess.
And it's been so much fun.
It really it has been.
Crazy but fun.
It has been. But you have to figure at some point, we had to sit down, we had to talk about it. We've got a lot to get to today, but let's start down the line. We'll go first, starting at the NHL draft, which was in Las Vegas. We were both there. Paul, I guess my first question for you is just your overall impression of the draft. I think a lot of fans maybe were thinking that this was going to go down a little bit differently, a few more trades, but you know, it is what it is at this point.
I've been to a lot of drafts. It's very rare that not one NHL player gets traded in the first round. Not one. A lot of trades for picks up, down, which the Sabres did, but no NHL players were traded, which is really weird. So teams, I think you heard a lot of rumors of, well, maybe Montreal will trade pick 5, Ottawa will trade pick 7, Buffalo will trade pick 11, which became pick 14. None of it materialized as far as that goes. So that happens a lot at the draft. What you hear is going to happen, the opposite happens, and that happens a lot. Where, we're not going to have many trades, and next thing you know, it's trade after trade after trade. Or this one where you hear, yeah, some picks are going to be traded. None of them were, and it was really weird.
And it was interesting, too, because Kevyn Adams, after the first night of the draft, he knew what was coming his way. He knew what questions were going to be asked. You know, they make the trade the day before to get the 14th and trade the 11th in, and they end up picking Konsta Helenius. But, you know, he said that you have to have two to tango, right?
Exactly.
Two to tango for a trade for an NHL player. And he said, really, it just wasn't there.
And there were a group of players, just like when the Bills were trading down, and they knew there were a group of wide receivers they liked. So they knew they were going to get kind of what they wanted. And they did get what they wanted. Same thing here. There was a group of players that the Sabres liked. Now, whether Helenius was the one they wanted first, my guess is probably yes. Because this is a guy, as I started doing research on him, there were some folks who thought he could go as high as 4. You know, and others that just they thought he was ranked a little bit lower than he should have been. Now that I've seen him, you know, in prospects camp, development camp, I liked what I saw. I could see what they were talking about because he was head and shoulders above everybody else. You know, going up against 18, 19, 20-year-olds, head and shoulders above them. You could see it because he had played with men. And that's one of the things Adams talked about on draft day, that he competed so well as a 16 and 17 and 18-year-old with men in the Finnish league. And that's what that impressed him, that, you know, he was still one of the very good players, even though he was one of the younger guys out there.
And the Amherst staff said that as well. Vinny Prospal went on to say, you know, that you can tell from his hockey sense when he's out on the ice during development camp, and we're going to get there. But first, I want to go back to the draft a little bit. The second day of the draft, before the rounds even started, 2 through 7, the Sabres acquired Beck Malenstein from the Washington Capitals. I guess just your initial reaction on that trade and, you know, maybe what he can bring to the Sabres right now.
It's funny because fans want Adams to trade. Then when he trades, they don't want him to trade. It's like, well, wait a minute. They paid too much for him. But he explained what he did. I totally 100% get it. When they went down, he got that extra second-round pick with the idea, I'm trading it. We have 2. I'm trading one of them. And they were right together. It didn't matter really which one they were going to trade. And he did that. Did he overpay a little? Yeah, probably. So what? I kind of look at it. They have so many picks. They have so many guys in the prospect pool. That's fine. They needed a guy like Malenstein. Absolutely needed. He has good speed. He's going to be in on the forecheck. He hits hard. He's one of the better penalty killers. They needed a guy like that. And they got a bunch of guys like that because I said after they traded for him, they can't stop with him. You know, and they didn't. So that's why a second-round pick is just fine. You acquired that pick to trade it. You did so to get something that you desperately needed on your team.
Exactly. And as you said, Kevyn Adams said that. He said, the extra second-round pick just gives us more ammo to make those different kinds of moves, whether that's what he had in mind or if he was hoping for maybe something else in the first round, which didn't happen, we know. Mm-hmm. Now, on the final day, the Kevyn Adams presser at the end of the night after day 2, the last question of the day, Mike Harrington asked, you know, about the Skinner buyout. And it was a quick one-liner. Yes, we've started this, and then, the next 2 days come around and it's official. I guess, with a move like this, Sabres fans, I'm reading, on X and everything, it's a bit of some mixed emotions. How do you feel like if they're going to make a move like this, they better, do something with that money to then get better right now?
Well, you have to remember too quickly, they have this money, but next year they got to sign Quinn, Peterka, Levi, and Byram. You have 4 guys you have to sign. You have to budget that in. You can't take all $31 million and spend, unless it's all one-year contracts. If you got all one-year contracts and spend it, that's fine. But you have to take that into account and account what's Luukkonen going to get. Because he's going to get a $4.5 to $5.5 million, I would guess, contract. So that's going to be added in too. So you have to look at it that way, that it can't be, we're going to use all the money to go and try to do that. And, right now, I think they have around 15 million possibly, but let's say Luukkonen eats up 5 million of that. Now you're down to 10. So, and then you've signed Jokiharju, but you still have to sign Malenstein. So there's a couple of guys you still have to sign. And I just got long-winded. I actually forgot your original point you were trying. Did I cover it? Did I cover your original point?
Paul, you did. It was great. It was great. No, I guess it's crazy to be talking in those terms, millions and millions of dollars like that, and just seeing how that kind of dwindles down, as you said, when you got to sign all those different kinds of guys. So moving on now. From the draft, we're going to go into free agency now. Free agency opened up on Monday. The Sabres quick to make a couple moves, not necessarily maybe those big time things that everyone is stoked about, but a bunch, three forwards, a goaltender, and a defenseman. We have Jason Zucker, Sam Lafferty, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, Dennis Gilbert, and James Reimer, all on Monday, I believe. So a pretty busy day, but I guess I want to hit on first, then Kevin Adams speaks to the media, and I think his press conference came off a little bit concerning to people because I think fans wanted more, and he seemed pretty content with where they were at and saying, we're definitely a better team now than we were 2 days ago. And I guess I was not there. I was listening. But what were your initial reactions from that press conference?
They are a better team. He did an excellent job in being harder to play against. I think as your number 3 goalie, Reimer, fine. You address that. But still, to me, there's more to do. You still have to address the situation in the top 6. I think basically he knows the options right now are limited. Now somebody may call him and something may come about where he can address the top 6. So he's not going to say, well, our top 6 really is no good and I have no confidence that we can score goals. And, he talked about how he has all the confidence in the world they can and will score goals. And he could be right. I personally feel Tage Thompson is closer to a 47-goal scorer than he is to a 33-goal scorer. But I wouldn't stake my reputation as a general manager on it. There's too many ifs. If Thompson gets back to 37, if Tuck gets back to 36, if Cousins gets back to 31, if Dahlin becomes an absolute superstar, he's a very, very good player now, no question. A lot of ifs that are, if Benson in his second year is quite a bit better goal scoring than if Quinn can stay healthy and score 30 goals. There's too many ifs in the equation there, and that's the problem with that. Any of those could happen. All of them could happen. But again, if I'm a general manager, I don't know if I'm staking my reputation on it that, all right, that's what's going to happen in the top 6. But on the other hand, they are much, much harder to play against, which they needed that. They didn't stop with just Malenstein. They went out and got others, and that's important. And you know what that does? That does help Thompson. That helps Tuck. That helps Dahlin. You know why? Because now they know there's a bunch of guys that have their backs. Tage Thompson, when he was fighting last year, I thought to myself, don't break your hand. They don't need Tage Thompson they need somebody to have his back. They don't need Rasmus Dahlin to stand out there and have to stand up for himself because nobody else helps him out. Now they've got those guys. And the skill players will play bigger because of the guys they have backing them up. So that does help them. I think it helps them immensely. How that translates and how many goals, I can't say.
I think my favorite guy so far that we've heard from free agency was the Buffalo native, Dennis Gilbert. He said in his press conference, you know, when we talk about being harder to play against, he said that's what he wants to bring to this roster, to the lineup, bringing that physical element. He said, you know, he's clearly, everyone knows that he's not afraid to fight, and that isn't something that's going to stop. But he also kind of talked about the different things. It doesn't always have to be fighting where you're getting up in somebody's face if they're kind of messing with your teammates, stuff like that. And I think guys like Gilbert will help in that way, as you were saying, you know, Rasmus Dahlin not having to stick up for himself and other things like that. So I ramble. But anyway, Paul, is there a player among those couple that I just listed that you feel like maybe could have the biggest impact on this team?
Well, what Dennis Gilbert brings, you have 10 guys that are capable of playing in the NHL, and I'm including Clegg, Ryan Johnson. I'm not sure Ryan Johnson starts in the NHL this year, but very well could wind up there. But you have 8 that probably will start here, Bryson and Gilbert. The only one that plays like Gilbert is Clifton. And Gilbert probably plays a little bit more than Clifton does because I think he's a little bit bigger. The rest of them are totally different types of defensemen, so he does bring something to that defense core. And Lindy Ruff, if he has an injury, can either, well, this is a team where Bryson might work better because they don't hit a lot and, you know, we're going to be able to wheel and deal, or this is a tough team that's going to keep on us and keep on us and keep on us. Maybe it's better to put Gilbert in this game and use him in this situation than Bryson. So he will have 2 totally different options, which is good for him with the 8 defensemen who I think he will probably start the season without injuries. And
now, Paul, in the midst of everything, then we had development camp. Okay, 4th of July week. The 3-on-3 tournament was on the 4th of July. This year was a little bit of a smaller roster, so maybe you're not seeing as many of the guys that you're familiar with, but I think a lot of people were there to see Konsta Helenius. What were your initial thoughts on his performance? You touched on it earlier. He had 3 goals in 3 games. The shootout goal, which kind of went viral on X and everything, of the, you know, juking him out. I guess just your thoughts.
Yeah, he was far and away the best player there. Should have been and was, you know, and did not disappoint whatsoever. You can see why the Sabres like him. And always when I'm watching this, I always remember it's 18, 19, and 20-year-olds going against each other. I mean, so you're going against your own age group. So you always have to remember that. So he was really good. Brody Ziemer throughout the week was really, really good. He's one of the picks from this year. And wow, can he shoot a puck. He played on the U.S. national team, captain. And he ripped one from the wing that went under the crossbar that just absolutely ripped it. And then he put on some gorgeous moves to score some goals. And he's going to start at the University of Minnesota in the fall, and they've got a keeper there. I mean, he's going to, I think, be a very good player for them and could be a steal for them, you know, as they got him in the 3rd round, and could be a steal for them if he develops the way he looks like he might be able to develop now. A guy that's looking for a team right now is Sardarian, who was picked a couple of years ago. He was at New Hampshire looking for a little more playing time, was going to go to Northern Michigan, and they lost their coaches. The coaches left. So he said to me, he goes, well, I should have a team within a week or 2, but he scored 4 goals in 3 games. I mean, some gorgeous goals on breakaways, and he's a little bigger than I thought he was. And really, I thought, wow, there's a guy that. And just a thought, I was kind of kicking this around with somebody else. He's looking for a team. What about Canisius? Where you're right here now. If Canisius would want you or has room for you and it could work out, even if it's for a year, now the Sabres can keep an eye on you because you're basically in one building over, one connected building over. And, you know, so I wonder if that might be an option for him. He certainly, you know, I would think he could get the ice time and could develop. So it was just a thought I had when I was talking to him and kind of was kicking around with some other people. But he's looking for a team, and a guy, Ethan Miedema, who I wasn't expecting. He scored 3 or 4 goals in that tournament also. A guy who plays in the OHL in junior and really looked good in development camp.
And I thought it was interesting. Well, you know, Patrick Geary was another talking point, another Buffalo native, I believe, from Hamburg. He scored as well, and teammates actually at Michigan State with Max Sturbach. And, you know, I kind of thought everyone, the way that Jerry Fortin spoke about him at the draft and everything, saying it's a cool story, him being a Buffalo guy is a plus. But he said, you know, a couple more years at Michigan State, like, he is a guy who our staff was very passionate about his level of play. And even he kind of said it too. He used to be a little bit more wild, I think were the words, or I forget exactly how
They have to tame him a little bit.
Yes.
You know? And he said he started that process this year at Michigan State. And you mentioned Sturbach, who was very happy that his teammate was taken in the draft, to Buffalo Sabre draftees now. And don't forget another former teammate who, Gavin McCarthy, was also very happy. He doesn't play with them at Michigan State. He's at Boston College, but he was just thrilled when his former junior Sabre teammate was taken. So a lot of different guys were happy when Geary was taken in the draft. And he's a 20-year-old. He's not an 18-year-old. And that's why, just what you brought up, Jerry Fortin talked about. He was a little wild, a little rambunctious. And now that they see him kind of reined in a little bit, they were interested and drafted him as a 20-year-old.
And now, Paul, we're going to segue a little bit into the most recent news, and I guess a little bit crazy here and funny, I guess. On the last day of development camp, I'm shooting my camera, okay, and I hear someone scream in the crowd, "Make a trade, Kevin." And it was a funny moment because I didn't really think I got it on camera, and then I go back and I find it, post it, and everyone's laughing about it, this, that, the next. Well, the next day, Kevin must have saw it, because then they go ahead, they make a trade. They trade their former first rounder, the Sabres, Matt Savoy, for two forwards from the Oilers, one of them being Ryan McLeod. I guess when this news came down, I was actually over at the Savannah Bananas. What were your thoughts?
Well, again, people are like, well, wait a minute. Why are you trading Savoy? He might become a good player. Yeah, he might. And then again, he might not. He's had some injury problems. I don't like using injury prone because injuries can happen for different reasons. But he's had a couple of injuries already. He's a smaller player. Projected, I mean, he ripped up junior hockey, as did Benson. They were line mates, if you remember, a couple of years ago in Winnipeg. So, yeah, I get it. Well, wait a minute. You're getting a guy, your number 3 center, that, you know, didn't score a lot of goals. And you're going to give up that? All right, let me lay it out there for you for a second. Okay, you've got a lot of centermen. Helenius Adams already said he's going to play center. Vinny Prospel talked about Kulik, thinking, hey, I'm only an assistant coach, but I think he's a better centerman. Oslin is a centerman. All first-round picks, all just about getting themselves ready. So where does Savoy fit in? You know, he's a winger or a center. All right, you've got Tuck, Quinn, Thompson, Cousins, Peterka. Is he that one guy that can fit into that top 6? So you can't get them all. If Savoy is the guy, then where does Peterka fit in? You know, or where does Oslin fit in? Or where does Helenius fit in? You can't play them all. You can't sign them all. So, all right, some people say, but in McLeod, what you got, the analytics people, I read some of the comments from people who do a lot of analytics, say his numbers come out extremely well. So that's, I'm sure, you know, something that Kevin Adams talked about with his analytics department, with Sam Ventura. When they needed goals, the Edmonton Oilers, he scored 3 of his 4 goals in the playoffs in the finals. So when they needed him, he was there. Some folks think he's the fastest skater in the league. I can't imagine he's faster than McDavid, but he's close. You know, so he's got speed. Not one time did the opponent score when he was killing penalties in the playoffs. He's a very good penalty killer, and I think he's a very good two-way centerman that they need. You know, they didn't have Casey Middlestad anymore, and somebody you can plug in there. So that's why the trade makes sense for both teams. It could work out for both teams. It may not work out for either team. It may work out for one and not the other. But I don't know how Savoy is going to work out. The people who are criticizing it don't know. You don't know. Kevin Adams doesn't know. None of us know how Savoy or any of these prospects are going to pan out. We have to wait and see how it works out.
I mean, and the thing too is like fans, as you were kind of alluding to, it's like fans want you to make a trade, and then when you make the trade, they hate the trade. And I mean, the bottom line is just that the Sabres have to do something right now. They have a 13-year playoff drought. That needs to end. So making a trade for an NHL player, which is what everyone said they wanted, Kevin Adams said that he wanted, something had to give, right? You can't keep it all, right? So
and you can't sign it all, and you can't play it all. And they've got so many high-end prospects right now. I think a lot of people, even with Savoy gone, still rate them as the best prospect pool in the NHL. That, again, there's not room for all of them. So, all right, you traded one of them for McLeod and a minor leaguer. Fine. I mean, let's see how it works out.
So what the Sabres have done so far in the offseason, I guess in basic terms, how do you see that all kind of impacting this roster, including McLeod?
I think they are going to be hard to play against. I think the way it's set up now, they will be a better team. Are they a playoff team? They haven't addressed the top six yet. Does Kulich come in and have a fantastic training camp like Benson did and push his way on the roster, and they all of a sudden do have a top six then? Do they plug him in there? Or is it going to be Zucker? Or is it going to be Benson? Is Benson going to be – he did get into double figures as an 18-year-old in the NHL in goals. But is he going to improve? He's scored goals any level he's been on. He was an 18-year-old last year. I wasn't expecting him to score 30 goals last year. So just like Quinn and Peterka, the first year, they didn't score 30. They didn't even score 20, but then they both looked better. When Quinn played, he was on a pace for 25, 6, 7 goals, something like that, if he had played all 82 games, and Peterka was knocking on the door of 30. So it doesn't happen overnight for Benson. He very well could come in the second year and all of a sudden get his scoring touch because now he knows how to train. He knows what to expect. So he might train differently, and he knows what to expect coming into camp because he has a full season under his belt. And
guess what? These are things that we could talk about for years and years and years, right? But until we actually see it at training camp, a lot of these topics, they're talking points. So little over 2 months until Sabres training camp, and we will see if we come back and Kevin Adams is making more moves. But for now, for Paul Hamilton, I'm Lindsey Moppert for Channel 2 Sports.